Chapter 9:12. No, it's the exact opposite. Cole maintained his usual smile, with a tinge of elegance but more of craftiness and maliciousness, as though everything was within his calculations. He said with certainty and confidence, "It is precisely because I never dared to underestimate Agu that the bewitching spell I placed on Sandy is a dead knot. Unless I personally remove it, otherwise, even if I use a stronger power to stack the bewitching spell, it will still trigger the bewitching spell I placed on Sandy and she will die on the spot." Gu Mengmeng was taken aback. She frowned and her heart twitched. Luckily, she did not recklessly remove Sandy's hypnosis spell today, but came up with a lie to fool her. Otherwise, the consequences would be dire. At this point, Gu Mingming's gaze towards Cole was filled with even more hatred. She said coldly, "How can I be sure that you are not lying to me?" Cole seemed to be pondering over this question, but he suddenly smiled and said, "When have I ever lied to the great messenger? When they kidnapped the little wolves, she was the one who voluntarily came to ask for help. He said that Ellie and a 5th-level master kidnapped the little wolves, but he never denied that the master was him. The wound on his chest was caused by Ellie's bite, and it was true that the little wolves were brought back to the Snake King Valley. He had only lured her into the trap step by step, but he had never told her a lie in the real sense. How could it be so ironic? He was a scumbag who was despised by Gu Mengmeng to the point of being useless, yet he still had a fine quality of honesty. You schemed so hard to scheme against Sandy just to be Leah for a day? Gu Mengmeng felt that this was very strange, wasn't it? Cole nodded and said, "I'm just very curious, what made that trash who only knows how to struggle in the mud, bare his teeth and clamor, break free from my shackles? I also want to experience life after letting go of my hatred, and what exactly is left of it?" Gu Mengmeng clenched her fists. Leah had told her before that Cole's interest was not in killing, but in torturing others. She suddenly felt that Jiaoyu's words were too true. A normal person would never win against a lunatic. He would pull you into his vicious thinking cycle, then use his rich experience to defeat you. After all, he was really crazy, while you still had your rationality and a bottom line. Gu Mengmeng leaned into Elvis's arms and said, "If you want to know, you have to let go of your hatred and try. No matter how well you imitate him, you are not Leah. Not to mention one day, even if you were given a lifetime, you would never know what he had and what he had obtained." "Who knows?" Cole chuckled. "I just want to try. Great emissary, are you willing to discuss this deal with me? I will only be Leah for one day. Tomorrow, I will completely return Sandy to you." Gu Mengmeng smiled and said, But Leah never makes me wait for the things I want. If it was Leah, he would not let me worry because of Sandy. As long as he could do it, he would immediately remove the bewitching spell on Sandy. What about you? If it's for me, can you do it too?" Cole deeply agreed with Gu Mengmeng's words. He smiled at Gu Mengmeng, his gaze filled with indulgence and love. "I can do anything for Agu." With that, Cole stood up and walked to Gu Mengmeng's side. He reached out to hold Gu Mengmeng's hand but was blocked by Elvis. He said coldly, "Do you want to die?" Chapter 9:13. Cole clenched his fists and smiled. "You cannot challenge the authority of the first partner, it is a family rule. I got carried away for a moment. I apologize." Elvis ignored him. Follow the family rules? Cole was not qualified to do so. Gu Mengmeng returned but Sandy and Colin's entanglement had not ended. When she walked near them, Gu Mengmeng's face was full of awkwardness. She was so anxious to hypnotize Sandy that she had forgotten about the matter of compensating Colin. "How about tomorrow?" Gu Mengmeng hugged Elvis's neck and asked. Elvis knew how worried Gu Mengmeng was for Sandy and Cole was a dangerous and uncertain factor. Who knew if he would disappear after saying that he was willing to remove the bewitching spell for Sandy? No need. With that, Elvis shrugged his shoulders and started emitting the pressure of a 5th-level orc. Cole was taken aback at first. Xianji smiled and rotated his neck, also starting to emit his beast pressure. Gu Mengmeng did not understand what was going on at first until she saw Colin stumbling out of the stone house. That expression was really amazing. Gu Mengmeng was even more embarrassed than before. Damn it, would Colin get sick from being forcefully interrupted? Won't it affect Sandy's happiness for the rest of her life? Gu Mengmeng felt a little guilty. Elvis did not mind and said, "If Colin can't do it, don't we still have Bode and the rest? Don't worry, Sandy will not feel aggrieved. Pfft. There was such a benefit to having more husbands? There was a backup. Looking at Colin, Gu Mengmeng said guiltily, Colin, I've wronged you. Elvis did not bother about Colin at all. He estimated that Bode and the rest had cleaned up Sandy and directly walked in. When he passed by Colin, he said, in order to protect Sandy's life, not to mention impotence, even if we skin him alive, he would not even frown. Colin was speechless when he heard Elvis's words. Elvis was stunned. Gu Mengmeng did not say anything else and just followed Elvis to the door of the stone house. Bode and Sandy's other partners each supported Sandy out. Sandy looked at Gu Mengmeng with a blushing face and asked shyly, Gu Mengmeng, are you looking for me? Gu Mengmeng really felt that it was immoral to interrupt him at this moment, so she was at a loss for words and did not know how to reply. Seeing that Gu Mengmeng did not reply, Sandy looked to her side and saw Cole. Because she had Cole's bewitching spell on her, Cole's current disguise was ineffective in front of her. Her large, watery eyes immediately lost all traces of innocence. She pulled Gu Mengmeng from Elvis's arms and used her as a shield. Her bare claws immediately flashed out. She glared at Cole and Elvis with wariness and hatred. Elvis, I didn't expect you to be such a person. My Gu Mengmeng is really blind. Why did she choose you as her first partner back then? Gu Mengmeng and Elvis were dumbfounded. Why didn't they scold Cole but Elvis? If it was someone else flashing their claws so arrogantly in front of Elvis today, Elvis would definitely break that person's neck before he could even finish saying his name. However, the person in front of him was someone he couldn't afford to offend. Not for any other reason but because if this crazy bear died, Xiao Meng would definitely be sad. However, he could tolerate her arrogance, but he could not tolerate one thing. You're Gu Mengmeng. Chapter 9:14. Sandy was usually timid and adorable, but when she got serious, she was not weak at all. She was willing to risk her life for Gu Mengmeng. Disregarding the fact that she was pregnant, she glared at Elvis with a, if you want to touch Gu Mengmeng, you have to do it over my dead body attitude, not giving in at all. Bode and Colin were so scared that their calves were cramping up, afraid that Elvis would rashly slap them with his claws. That would be the end of one corpse. But Sandy did not care at all. She stood in front of Elvis and Leah like a mother hen protecting her chicks. Stiffening her neck, she said, Yes, it's mine. So what? With that, she pointed a bear claw at Cole and said furiously, This scum did something shameless with Ellie. As Gu Mengmeng's first partner, why didn't you kill him? You actually allowed him to wander around Gu Mengmeng and disgust her. From this, it can be seen that you don't care about Gu Mengmeng at all. Even if you don't cherish her, I will. As long as I, Sandy, have a bite to eat, I will not let my Gu Mengmeng starve. You two shameless bastards, get lost. Elvis's face turned green and white from Sandy's scolding. He gritted his teeth and looked at the little person hiding behind Sandy, who was gloating at his misfortune. Seeing how she was smiling so widely that her eyes were curved into a line but she was still trying her best to hold it in, just like a silent phone with the vibration mode switched on. That smug look on her face instantly extinguished the fire in Elvis's chest. How long had it been since she last smiled like this? It seemed like she had not done any pranks ever since Snake died. He had not seen that sly and mischievous smile on her face for a long time. Just based on that smile, he could tolerate Sandy's scolding no matter how harsh it was. Moreover, although Elvis felt that it was unnecessary, he still treasured the friendship of having one more person who was willing to risk everything to protect Gu Mengmeng. In the worst-case scenario, even if Sandy did something even more rude today, so what? As long as Gu Mengmeng still treated Sandy as an important friend, Elvis would not do anything to hurt her. After his anger subsided, Elvis could only smile helplessly. He took a step to the side and circled behind Sandy to carry her in his arms. Then, he signaled Colin and Bode to restrain Sandy, who was about to snatch her from his arms again, with a glance. He then said leisurely, I brought him here today to let you seek justice for Xiao Meng. How do you think we should kill them? Come up with an idea, and I'll execute it. Sandy stopped struggling and looked at Elvis quietly, asking, Really? Are you siding with that scumbag? Elvis shook his head and said, In this whole world, I will only side with Xiao Meng. That's more like it. Sandy finally heaved a sigh of relief. She then turned around and stared at Cole fearlessly. Let me tell Cole. Just saying your name makes me feel disgusted. You and Ellie did that kind of thing, yet you still acted innocent and pitiful in front of me. You wanted to brush it off with a light sentence of, I did something wrong and made her angry. I, Sandy, was blinded by Laud to put in a good word for you in front of Gu Meng Meng. But now I know everything. Let me tell you, I will never help you again. If you still have a little bit of conscience, you should go to the platform of the deity's punishment and ask the beast deity to cleanse your dirty body and soul. Aside from the topic. Chapter 9:15. When had Cole ever been scolded like this before? Although he was not as respected as Big Brother and Leah, he was still the second highness of the Messenger's tribe. Who would not be respectful in front of him? Even when his father was still alive, he had never reprimanded him like this. Sandy's scolding was a strange experience for him. He felt that he should be angry, but for some reason, he could not be angry. Maybe, was it because he had grasped onto a very important piece of information? Gu, you care a lot about the matter between Ellie and me? Are you jealous? Cole's smile was filled with a sense of contentment. He tilted his head and looked past Sandy, landing his gaze on Gu Meng Meng. Gu Meng Meng did not know whether to laugh or cry. She had originally made up a lie to cover up the loophole in the bewitching spell that Cole had placed on Sandy. Now, it was hard for her to defend herself. Laughing dryly, Gu Meng Meng said, Do what you have to do, don't care about those useless things. But Cole tapped his chin lightly with his finger and said, But, this is the first time I have been scolded in my entire life. After being scolded so harshly, I should at least get to the bottom of it, right? If what she said is true, then I am willing to be scolded. But if she is spreading rumors, why should I save someone who is slandering me? From what he said, if she did not admit that she cared a lot about the matter between him and Ellie, he would not save Sandy. Gu Meng Meng was so angry that her teeth were itching, but she did not want to let him have his way. But Sandy could not just leave her be. If she were to overlay the hypnosis, it would cause harm to Sandy's body. Gu Meng Meng did not want to risk Sandy's safety. After weighing the pros and cons, Gu Meng Meng decided to say something against her will. She stared at Cole, trying hard to believe that the person in front of her was Leah. Just as she was about to speak, she saw a bare paw smack onto Cole's shoulder. Even Cole staggered from the slap and stumbled to the side. He stared at Sandy with a malicious gaze, his sharp claws and fangs flashing. Almost instantly, he instinctively attacked Sandy. Bode and Colin had been paying attention to Sandy's movements. Naturally, they had long discovered her movements, but it was too late to tell her not to act rashly. Thus, they could only make the most basic defensive response in an instant. Bode pulled Sandy back and protected her in his arms. He turned around and faced his back to Cole. Colin stood in front of Bode and used his own arm to catch Cole. After Colin and Sandy had mated, they were already third-level beasts. In the beast world, they were already considered to be above-average masters. Under normal circumstances, they were more than enough to protect a female. However, under normal circumstances, this did not include fighting against level 5 orcs. Even if Cole was a crippled beast, he had stayed at the peak of 5th level for so long. In addition to that, he had received Sauder's systematic training and had fought many stray beasts in secret. His abilities, if they were to really fight, he would at least be on par with Elvis now. How could a level 3 Colin withstand it? With this slap, Colin's arm immediately folded up in a weird position. It looked like it was fractured. Gu Meng Meng was taken aback by the sudden turn of events and rushed to Colin 2 seconds too late. Colin was half a step away from Gu Meng Meng, and his nose was almost touching Cole's face to face. Chapter 9:16. Cole was taken aback and immediately retracted his murderous aura. He smiled elegantly as if nothing had happened just now. Rubbing his nose, he said, I'm sorry, maybe it's because I've been fighting with the Grim Reaper for the past half a year and had an instinctive reaction to being attacked. His gaze landed on Sandy and Cole's eyes darkened. This female. She actually made Gu care so much. What to do? He seemed to be a little jealous. But, such an important person had to be saved for the most exciting moment. Smiling, Cole said, All right, I apologize. Even if you want to punish me, let me remove the bewitching spell on her first. All right. Gu Meng Meng took 2 steps back and pushed Bode away with a slap. This fellow was only a second-level beast. Elvis and Cole released their beast pressure at the same time, and he was so scared that his legs were trembling. But even so, he still protected Sandy with all his might. This made Gu Mengming's impression of him even better. Bravery was never about being fearless. It was about choosing to stand out to protect her even though you were clearly afraid. Her best friend had the same taste in men as her. Although this first partner was slightly weaker, he was more sincere. Gu Mengming pushed Bode away and held Sandy's little hand, hugging her gently to calm her emotions. Sandy's bare paws slowly turned into chubby little hands as she returned Gu Mengming's grip. But her eyes were still glaring at Cole with hatred, unwilling to back down. Gu Mengming patted her back lightly and said, "All right, my little Sandy baby, don't be angry at him. It's not worth it. It's better to let Elvis handle things like enforcing the family rules. You, just help me decide if I should slice him or shred him, braise him or steam him. That'll do." Sandy was taken aback and said, "Ah, you want to eat him?" Gu Mengming laughed out loud and said, "I don't have such a heavy taste. What I meant was that you just have to help me think of ideas. Leave the physical work to the males." Sandy nodded and said, "I also know that I can't beat him, but I can't stand the fact that he dared to speak to you in such a righteous manner after treating you that way. It's so infuriating." Gu Mengming nodded in agreement. That's right, that's right." Seeing that Gu Mengming did not blame her for being nosy, Sandy felt more at ease. She then held onto Gu Mengming's arm and said, "I feel that since he did something wrong, he should go to the platform of the deity's punishment and let the beast deity punish him." Gu Mengming agreed without hesitation. "All right, I'll listen to you. Then I'll give you a chance to vent my anger on my behalf. Go and personally sentence him." Sandy nodded and walked in front of Cole with her chest puffed out. Just as she was about to speak, her eyes suddenly glazed over and there was not a single bit of light in her eyes. She felt as though her soul had been sucked out of her and she fell limply to the ground. Gu Mengming reacted quickly and caught Sandy. Bode also rushed over and took Sandy from Gu Mengming into the stone house. Gu Mengming looked at Cole, who was still smiling. "The bewitching spell has been removed. So, do I have to go to the platform of the deity's punishment to receive the beast deity's punishment? If I kneel on the platform of the deity's punishment for 3 days and don't die, you won't be angry with me and Allie anymore?" "Ha!" Gu Mengming laughed and said, "Cole, you seem to be able to run horses on your forehead." Cole did not understand and tilted his head to look at Gu Mengming. Chapter 9:17. Cole was not a fool and naturally understood Gu Mengming's meaning. She was saying that she did not care whether he and Ellie had anything going on. His Agu really knew how to torture him. Just as he was about to say something, Lee's voice rang out behind him. "How's the role-playing game going?" Gu Mengming tilted her head and looked at Leah, who was behind Cole. He was in a sorry state and had countless wounds all over his body. And under his armpit was the unconscious Qi. Gu Mengming was taken aback. She immediately ran towards Leah and asked with concern, "What happened?" Leah gently hooked Gu Mengming's chin. "Are you asking me or him?" Gu Mengming knew that this he was referring to the unconscious Qi. She also knew that Leah was throwing a tantrum to ease her emotions. Gu Mengming took a deep breath and slowly exhaled. After calming herself down, she replied, "I am asking you too, what is going on?" Leah looked at Gu Mengming, who had calmed down in satisfaction. He then pointed at Cole. "In order to impersonate me and experience life, this great Cole actually made Qi harm himself to pester me. He kept hurting himself and forced me to not leave him behind. But he forgot that I am a witch doctor. I have many ways to make a mere first-level beast docile." Harm himself? These 2 words made Gu Mengming's heart skip a beat. She subconsciously went to check on Qishuan's wounds. Leah held Gu Mengming's little hand. "Don't worry. Although we wasted some time, he did not hurt himself." Gu Mengming then looked up and gently caressed Lee's face. He treasured this face the most. Now, there were 2 hideous wounds below his eyes. They were just a finger's width away from his eyes. If they were just a little further away, his eyes would have been crippled. Gu Mengming's heart ached. She wanted to touch him but was afraid that it would hurt him. She could only ask softly, "These wounds were caused by Qi?" Leah nodded in grievance. He looked like a little wife who had been abused by her mother-in-law. Yeah, Qi scratched me. It was very painful. Before Gu Mengmeng could say anything, Li's expression changed. He looked at Cole with a sinister and evil gaze and said, "But this debt will be on Lord Cole. After all, it was you who instigated our family's immature child." Cole responded with the same sinister sneer. "Of course it should be on my tab. In any case, the accounts between you and me are quite frequent. It doesn't make much difference if we add one more or one less." Leah was not angry. His voice was as calm as the night sky under the moonlight, so cold that it could penetrate one's bones. "Then, I have already returned. Can we end this game of pretending to be Leah for a day?" Cole shook his head and said, "I have already removed the bewitching spell from Sandy's body, so it's as if I have already paid for it. Naturally, I have to complete this one-day trip to the end so that I won't feel wronged." Leah, oh? A disguise that has been seen through by everyone. What meaning is there in continuing to exist? Cole replied. "So what if I see through you? Maybe Agu wants me to continue staying here? After all, the order I gave Qi was to keep you occupied for a day." Gu Mengmeng instantly understood what Cole meant. If she did not want Cole to stay, then Cole would hold Qi accountable for not completing his orders. But this child, Qi, was so loyal to Cole. In order to complete his orders, he did not hesitate to attack Leah and even hurt himself. But Chapter 9:18. I will let you stay, but only for this day. Gu Mengmeng gritted her teeth. Cole smiled and nodded. All right. Gu Mengmeng glared at Cole. But you must promise not to make things difficult for Qi. Cole nodded and promised. I promise not to make things difficult for him because of this. Gu Mengmeng nodded and ignored Cole. She took Qi from Li's arms and handed him over to Elvis. Hubby, bring Qi back to the stone castle and settle him down. I want to stay behind and wait for Sandy to wake up. Let Leah accompany you. No matter how powerful she was, he would never learn to trust her. Gu Mengmeng nodded. Colin is injured. Leah can take a look at him. Elvis kissed Gu Mengmeng's brow and then carried Qi over his shoulder. He exchanged a look with Leah before leaving. Cole was treated like air by Gu Meng Meng the entire time. She could only see Leah. They clearly had the same face and body, but she could easily tell who was who between the two of them. How did she do it? Cole was getting more curious but did not pursue the matter. He just followed behind Gu Meng Meng wherever she went. Leah walked to Colin's side and pulled up his broken arm. He snorted and said with a look of disdain, "Useless." Colin lowered his head and did not dare to retort. Leah used a tree branch to fix Colin's arm in place. To think that you had to give up your position as the messenger's guard. You are just like a bear. Placing you beside my Gu Meng Meng. You are really bringing down my Gu Meng Meng's glorious image. All right, Leah. Gu Meng Meng rarely saw Leah speak so sharply. Every word he said pierced right into someone's heart. Colin was just a third-level beast. Gu Meng Meng felt that he was already very manly for daring to stand in front of Cole to protect Sandy. This was an honorable injury and should not be treated like this by Leah. Leah turned to look at Gu Meng Meng with a resentful gaze. Your heart aches? Did you really like him back then? Gu Meng Meng pinched Lee's waist harshly. What nonsense are you spouting? Is it something a human would do to steal one's best friend? What do you take me for? Leah immediately mumbled timidly. Don't be angry, I won't say it, all right? As he spoke, Leah had already fixed Colin's hand in place. Unsure if it was intentional or not, Lee's finger kept tapping on the fixed branch, causing Colin's entire arm to go numb. He gritted his teeth but did not dare to make a sound. You're not allowed to take this branch off. Keep it there until Sandy gives birth. Do you understand? After saying that, Leah then stopped tapping his fingers on the tree branch and pounced towards Gu Meng Meng, hugging her whole body. He rubbed the side of her face coquettishly and said, Meng Meng, I don't like it when you protect other males. I'm jealous. Gu Meng Meng felt helpless towards Lee's unscrupulous words of jealousy. She could only turn around and stroke his head that was on her shoulder, saying, I'm not protecting Colin, it's just that. It's immoral to bully an injured person. Leah kissed the side of Gu Meng Meng's face and said, I'm not bullying him. I'm telling him that if he wants to protect his own female, sacrificing himself is not enough. Becoming stronger is the only way out. First, he has to have the ability to protect himself. Only then can he better protect the people important to him. Digression. All right, today's update has ended. Gu Meng Meng could not be bothered with these two fellows and wanted to get down from Lee's arms to see Sandy, but Leah refused to let go. It's rare that Elvis isn't around. Let me hug him. You want to see Sandy, don't you? I'll take you there. Sandy is a female. Gu Meng Meng was implying that it was not convenient for him to enter. But Leah smiled slyly and said, I am a witch doctor. Gu Meng Meng face-bombed and thought to herself, you are abusing your power to seek personal gains. Chapter 9:20. Sandy was still unconscious. Bode sat beside her, holding her little hand nervously. He stared at her intently, not moving an inch. Leah did not stand on ceremony at all and lifted his leg to kick Bode to the side. Bode looked at Leah and did not dare to make a sound. Firstly, Leah was a witch doctor and it was beneficial for Sandy that he was willing to take care of her. Secondly, he glanced at Gu Meng Meng, who was placed beside Sandy by Leah. She was the messenger of the beast deity, the biological daughter of the beast deity. She was the amalgamation of thousands of blessings. If she stayed by Sandy's side, she might bring her good luck. Moreover, perhaps the beast deity would look after Sandy and Gu Meng Meng because they were good friends? Most importantly, in Sandy's heart, Gu Meng Meng was even more important than her partners. If she woke up, she would definitely want to see Gu Meng Meng first. So, Bode did not say anything and just turned to walk out. He wanted to find some food to cook so that Sandy would not be hungry when she woke up and it would be too late. Gu Meng Meng did not have time to bother with Bode. She just held Sandy's little hand and gently stroked the stray hair on her forehead. She said softly, Sandy, be good and don't make me worry. Quickly wake up, all right? You still have a baby in your tummy. It's not good for the baby if you sleep for too long. Didn't we agree that once your baby is born, you will recognize me as your godmother? You don't even know, my 4 little cubs have grown up and they don't even kiss me. I really miss the times when they were fluffy and acted like a spoiled child by my side. I plan to use the few in your tummy to satisfy my own fluffy fetish. So, quickly wake up, alright? Give birth to a few chubby and fluffy little fellows for me to play with? Sandy seemed to have heard Gu Mengming's words. Her delicate brows furrowed before she slowly opened her eyes. She curled her lips and looked at Gu Mengming. She opened her mouth and only replied after a long while, "All right." Gu Mengming could not help but laugh. She helped Sandy sit up and teased, "You agreed just like that? Your mother's heart is really big." Sandy was also smiling. It was a good thing that Gu Mengming liked her child. Why would she not agree? With a slight headache, Sandy did not speak his mind. She used her hands to support her body as she sat up straight and looked at everyone in the room. When her gaze landed on Cole, Sandy shuddered and instinctively tightened her grip on Gu Mengming's hand. She looked at Cole warily. "Why are you here? What are you doing?" Hada and the rest? What did you do to the wolf pups?" "Give the wolf cub back to me. Give it back to me." Gu Mengming hugged Sandy lightly and patted her back, saying, "Sandy, don't be afraid, I am here." Sandy's body stiffened and she allowed Gu Mengming to hug her. Then, her head was in a mess and she felt a sharp pain as if she was being stabbed by needles. After a long while, her thoughts slowly returned to normal. How she had been threatened by Cole to go out alone, how she had foolishly believed that Cole and Gu Mengming were partners, and how she had even helped Cole and Gu Mengming get together. Bit by bit, everything returned to normal. Chapter 9:21. What nonsense are you talking about? Gu Mengming rubbed Sandy's little head and said, "Don't think too much. As long as you are well, I will be at ease." Glancing at Bode, who was busy at the door, and Colin, who was holding a tree branch in his hand, Gu Mengming sighed and said, "Seeing that you are fine, I am relieved. I'll go back first. You and Colin take care of yourselves. When you've recovered, let's return to St. Nazaire." Sandy nodded and hugged Gu Mengming again. She did not get off the bed and just watched them leave. Cole followed Gu Mengming all the way. He knew that Gu Mengming didn't want to acknowledge him and that she didn't want to see him, but he just wanted to follow behind her. The fact that they had the same destination already made him happy. Returning to the stone castle, Gu Mengming saw Elvis stepping on Qixian. Gu Mengming's brows twitched. He had just come back and witnessed a scene of domestic violence. Elvis. Gu Mengming rarely called Elvis by his full name. Elvis's brows twitched as he felt that he could not explain himself. As long as it was something related to the four young ones, Gu Mengming would always stand firmly on their side regardless of whether they were right or wrong. Now that she had seen herself stepping on Qixian, even if he spouted all sorts of nonsense, he would still be in the wrong in her heart. You must feel wronged. Far from it. After all, he had really beaten up Qixian. But his heart ached and he did not want Gu Mengming to be angry. Hence, Elvis immediately let go of Qixian without any principles and walked up to Gu Mengming to admit his mistake. "Xiaomeng, don't be angry. I was wrong." Cole was taken aback. He knew better than Leah what kind of person Elvis was. After all, he had watched him grow up. Actually, he had once wanted to groom Elvis to replace Peter as the leader of the stray beasts. Unfortunately, this brat was unromantic. So many females were stripped and thrown in front of him, but he actually treated them as food and ate them directly. A little brat who couldn't even break through the third-level boundary really couldn't take on such a big responsibility. But just based on his ruthlessness, Cole still had the intention to groom him. However, he actually ran away in the end, letting down his efforts of nurturing him down in vain. But the Elvis who jumped out of the pit covered in blood and devoured his only brother without saying a word, was now as docile as a dog, immediately wagging his tail and begging for forgiveness when his master called his name. His Agu was really capable. Not only did she tame the unruly Ninth Highness, she even tamed the bloodthirsty Elvis. Gu Mengming had no time to care about what Cole was thinking. She just jumped down from Li's body and pushed Elvis aside to walk to Qixuan's side. Seeing the bruises all over Qixuan's body, her heart ached terribly. Qixian struggled free from Elvis's legs and wanted to retaliate, but when he saw Cole returning with Gu Mengming, he suppressed his anger and stood obediently at his original spot. He lowered his head to look at Gu Mengming and called out, "Mummy, sorry for making you worry." Chapter 922. Qi Xian didn't object and just stared straight at Cole. Gu Mengmeng pinched her brows and sighed. She also looked at Cole and braced herself. Leah, what are you doing? Aren't you going to come over and let Qi Xian take a look? Cole's lips curled into a faint smile. See how easy it was to control Gu Mengmeng. He didn't need to control Sandy and Oakley at all. Just Qi Xian alone could easily make her submit. Walking to Gu Mengmeng's side, Cole hesitated for a moment. But he still imitated Leah and rested his chin on Gu Mengmeng's shoulder. Gu Mengmeng, who was 1.72 meters tall, was really too short for him. Moreover, he was not as used to this action as Leah and Elvis. Even though he had practiced it countless times in his mind, it was his first time actually doing it. So he was still not used to it. The way he bent over made him look like a little lobster. Gu Mengmeng shrugged her shoulders impatiently. She glanced sideways at him. Don't push your luck. My patience has always been short. Cole raised his hands and took 2 steps back in a surrendering manner. He smiled helplessly. I just wanted to experience it, but I'm really not used to it. Gu Mengmeng ignored him. She just took the medicine from Leah and stuffed it into Cole's hands. Apply the medicine on my son. If even a single scar is left on his body, I will skin you alive. Is that a reward? If she was the one who personally skinned him, Cole's lips curled up. It was as if he had thought of something exciting and interesting. Yeah, full of anticipation. Gu Mengmeng was really speechless. But for Qi Xuan's sake, she had no choice but to tolerate it. Cole also knew when to stop. If he really angered her, he would definitely not be able to continue today's experience. He didn't want to give up so early on such an interesting experience. So Cole bent his knees and sat down. He patted his thighs. Little Xian, come here. I will apply the medicine for you. Yeah. Qi Xian was so docile that it was as if he wasn't the one who had wanted to fight Elvis with bloodshot eyes. He obediently lay on the ground with Cole's thighs as he allowed Cole to rub the herbs onto his body bit by bit. Even though the pain was so intense, he acted as if he couldn't feel it and didn't dodge at all. Gu Mengmeng's heart ached for her son, but there was nothing she could do. She could only turn to glare at Elvis and vent her anger. You really don't feel heartache when you beat him up, right? Elvis clearly knew that Gu Mengmeng was venting her anger on him, but he did not explain himself. He just wrapped his arms around her waist and brought her into his arms. He summoned his beast ears and fluttered them twice before lowering his head to deliver them to Gu Mengmeng. I know I was wrong. Let you pull my ears, all right? Gu Mengmeng's little hand touched Elvis's ears. She hardened her heart but couldn't bear to really pinch it. She only pulled it a few times before letting go. She straightened her neck and glared at Leah. Leah flew into Gu Mengmeng's arms. He rested his chin on Gu Mengmeng's knees and supported his cheeks with both hands. He looked up at Gu Mengmeng with his pure white beast ears quivering. He smiled in a fawning manner. Mengmeng, do you want to pinch my ears? You haven't pinched my ears in a long time here, pinch them? Gu Mengmeng was nestled in Elvis's arms, but this slut was lying on her knees. She frowned. Scram as far as Mars is. Chapter 923. Gu Mengmeng had a nosebleed. It was not because of Lee's teasing, but because their current position was a little, indescribable. Elvis and Leah were both tall and muscular. She was nestled in Elvis's arms while Leah was sticking close to her. Be it Leah or Elvis, they could easily cover her up so tightly that no one could see a single strand of her hair. So from any other angle, it looked like Leah was lying on Elvis's chest and muttering to herself. And because Elvis was looking down at Gu Mengmeng, the visual effect was that he was looking at Leah with a face full of love and adoration. F***K. Gu Mengmeng once again recalled the misunderstanding when she just transmigrated here. Leah and Elvis did not know what she was thinking about and just panicked when they saw her nosebleed. Elvis carried Gu Mengmeng and dashed out of the door without saying a word while Leah followed behind. If not for Cole's 5th-level power, he might not even be able to see how the two of them ran out. What happened? Cole did not understand, but he still stood up and chased after Elvis and Leah. There was no stream near Sauder, so Elvis ran a little further this time. When he finally reached the stream, he carried Gu Mengmeng and jumped in without saying a word. Gu Mengmeng was dumbfounded the entire time. She did not know why Elvis ran, and in order to not have a stomach full of wind, she could only keep her mouth shut tightly. Finally, Elvis stopped, and before she could even say what happened, both of them fell into the water with a splash. They choked and coughed non-stop. Leah, who was following closely behind, patted her back to soothe her breathing while asking with a face full of concern, "How are you? Do you feel better after soaking in the stream?" Gu Meng Meng coughed until tears came out, and she really could not find the time to answer Lee's question. Finally, she stopped coughing and stared at Elvis and Leah with her big watery eyes, who were looking at her as if she was a terminally ill patient. She said, "Who can tell me what happened?" Elvis held Gu Meng Meng's chin and stared at her nose. He watched as the glaring redness flowed down the water on her face and into the corner of her lips. His heart ached as if it was being pricked by thousands of needles. Gu Meng Meng tasted a fishy sweetness in her mouth. She touched it with her hand and saw that it was blood. He was stunned for 2 seconds before he asked, "Don't tell me you're so nervous just because I had a nosebleed." Elvis and Leah nodded their heads firmly under Gu Meng Meng's expectant gaze. Gu Meng Meng was especially speechless. She pinched her nose with one hand and dabbed the water on her forehead and nose with the other, ignoring them for the time being. She raised her head for a long while to make sure that her nosebleed had stopped before lowering her head. She wanted to scold them, but when she met Elvis's and Lee's crazed eyes, she swallowed back her words. It was mainly to ease the atmosphere and make Elvis and Leah happy. However, when Elvis and Leah thought about it seriously and nodded their heads in agreement, Gu Meng Meng blushed. She said she was delicate. She probably didn't want her face anymore in the future. Elvis hugged Gu Meng Meng tightly in his arms, as if he was still worried. He insisted, "Stay by the stream for a few days. I'll bring you back to the stone castle after I'm sure you're fine." But their expressions were too King scary. Even though she knew that there was a 9,999% chance that it was just an act, Gu Meng Meng did not dare to bet on that 0.1% chance. Gu Meng Meng hugged Elvis's neck and begged for mercy. "Hubby, I was wrong, I was really wrong. I won't let my thoughts run wild in the future. Don't treat our sons like this, I beg you, I beg you. Why don't you just punish me? Dig a hole and bury me inside. Sobs, hubby, after burying me, please let our sons off." Elvis was unmoved and just stared coldly at Gu Meng Meng. Chapter 926. How long had it been since she called him Daddy Leah? He had tried to coax her to call him that when he was in a trance, but she refused. Now, how could he bear to really make her sad? He was just scaring her as punishment. But any kind of punishment? What kind of fox would he be if he didn't reject a gift that was delivered right to his doorstep? Any kind of punishment? Leah suppressed the urge to smile and asked in a cold voice. Gu Meng Meng nodded her head vigorously and said, "As long as you don't bully my sons, I will accept any kind of punishment." Leah then tapped Gu Meng Meng's little nose with a chuckle and said, "Remember your promise. If you dare to go back on it, I will put the blame on Huda and his brothers." "I don't dare to. I definitely won't go back on it." Gu Meng Meng hurriedly waved her hands and shook her head, being extremely obedient. Leah gave Elvis a look, and the two of them tacitly decided to forget about this matter. After all, if they continued teasing her and she really cried, they would be the ones who would feel heartache. Seeing that her man's expression had softened, Gu Meng Meng was not too worried that she had sold herself out with her promise just now. After all, no matter how the two of them punished her, it was done on the basis of love and they would not really do anything to her. Gu Meng Meng probably described Gu Meng Meng's current state. Gu Meng Meng wrapped her arms around Elvis's neck and asked with a smile, trying to please him, "Then can you tell me now, why did you throw me into the stream?" "I choked just now." Elvis had seen it when she choked on the water. At that time, he was worried about her nosebleed and did not have time to worry about it. Now, his heart really ached for her. Gently rubbing her little head, he said, "I remember the last time you had a nosebleed. You went to the stream and soaked yourself in the water, then you recovered. So, the moment I saw your nosebleed, I immediately brought you to the stream." The last time, Gu Meng Meng tried her best to recall that she had also had a nosebleed when she had just arrived in the beast world. At that time, she had just gotten to know Sandy, and that lass had chased after Elvis as if she was about to die, attracting the attention of everyone in the tribe. She had a nosebleed and looked as if she was bidding farewell to a corpse. Thinking of that scene, Gu Meng Meng could not help but smile again. Her little head swayed and her eyes shone brightly. Elvis did not know what Gu Meng Meng was thinking about, but seeing her smile, the corners of his lips curled up unknowingly. When Gu Meng Meng snapped back from her memories, she met Elvis's deep and affectionate eyes. Gu Meng Meng's heart ached at the thought of how flustered he was just now. Because of her nosebleed, Elvis and Leah might really be frightened. To prevent such a thing from happening again, Gu Meng Meng decided to teach them the correct way to handle a nosebleed. Jiaoyu shook his head and took out a piece of beast skin from the house to pass to Gu Meng Meng. "Mummy, you are drenched. Wrap it up with the beast skin first. Don't fall sick." Gu Meng Meng nodded and took the beast skin from her son to wrap herself up. Then she kissed Jiaoyu's little head and said, "Our Jiaoyu is so considerate." Jiaoyu chuckled and turned to look at Cole. "Father Leah, aren't you going to boil the water? My mummy is freezing." Cole was first taken aback before he smiled and said, "All right, I'll go boil the water." Aside from the topic, "My babies, it's the end of the month. The tickets don't have to expire. Give them to me on account of how hard I work to save them. Yeah. Babies, today's update has ended." Chapter 928. Gu Meng Meng tugged at Jiaoyu's hand. "Jiaoyu isn't he?" Jiaoyu smiled slyly and said, "I know." "You know?" Jiaoyu nodded and said, "I can tell from the way he looks at you. Daddy Leah would never stare at you with that kind of shifty gaze." Gu Meng Meng chuckled and pinched Jiaoyu's little nose. "Then why did you ask him to boil water?" Jiaoyu shrugged his shoulders and said, "It would be a waste not to make use of a coolie that was delivered to my doorstep." With that, he pulled Gu Meng Meng's little hand and walked into the house. As he walked, he said, "Let's go in first. If she really gets sick later, we will have to worry." Gu Meng Meng was pulled by Jiaoyu and Kanwu into the stone castle with one hand each. Hada followed behind Gu Meng Meng silently and turned to look at Qi, who had walked over to Cole's side to help. Even though Qi looked like a 17 or 18-year-old lad and he looked like a 6 or 7-year-old child. But he knew that it was his younger brother. A brother who was very close to the enemy. Elvis's ginger slices boiled water resurfaced and Gu Meng Meng drank 2 whole bowls of it before Elvis stopped. Although Jiaoyu had ordered Cole to boil the water, Qi was actually the one who boiled the bathwater for Gu Meng Meng. Gu Meng Meng had no qualms about enjoying her son's care. At least it was more comfortable than the bathwater Cole boiled for her. The rooms on the second floor were Gu Meng Meng's bottom line. She would never allow Cole to step foot on the second floor. And Cole did not insist. He just sat beside the fire pit in the hall on the first floor and looked at the dancing flames, deep in thought. He felt that Gu Meng Meng was becoming more interesting. She had clearly tamed Leah and Elvis, but when they were by the stream, she was like a docile and harmless little rabbit, cozying up to those 2 fellows in a pitiful manner. She had the strength of a beast king. A single slap would have been enough to make these 2 fellows submit, but they had to swallow their anger and beg for mercy. Cole, who had witnessed everything from the shore, could clearly remember the surging feeling in his chest at that time. Jealousy. It was a unique kind of jealousy. He had never been so jealous of Leah before. Even when he was ignored by everyone and Leah was the center of attention, his jealousy was not as strong as now. No one in the entire beast world could compare to her gentle eyes. He really did want her. Just thinking about how that pair of eyes would one day be branded on his body without moving an inch, just thinking about it made him very excited. This night, Cole did not stay in the stone castle. Instead, he walked out after midnight. No one cared where he went. All they knew was that he had returned to the stone castle the next morning. Last night, a tribe was attacked by stray beasts. Not a single person in the tribe survived. The tribe's most beautiful female died in her own cave. Chapter 929. Cole followed closely behind. Even though he was just a step away, he still seemed out of place. He would never be able to blend into their scenes, and could only follow them like a demon. Qi followed beside Cole, and even though he belonged to the bright side, he still hid himself in the shadows. If not for that, Gu Mengmeng could have completely destroyed Cole. Qi Xian knew that his choice had caused trouble for his mother. He was very apologetic, but he did not regret it. Even if one day, his mother was sick of the shackles he had created and killed him, he would not regret it. After all, that evil person in everyone's eyes was the one who had woken him up from his long slumber, and trained him little by little when he could not even stand up due to his prolonged coma. Most of his memories were related to him. Having depended on each other for so long, Qi Xian had already treated Cole as the most important person in his life. Moreover, he was indebted to him. He could only repay this debt himself. When Gu Mengmeng arrived at Sandy's place, Bode had already prepared lunch. Elvis handed Gu Mengmeng over to Leah, before bringing the three little ones with him to an empty space outside the tribe to begin their training. Gu Mengmeng felt that there was no need to rush. After all, Colin's hand had just been injured yesterday. Shouldn't he rest for a few days? But Elvis and Colin both said that males were not so fragile. As long as Lee's splint was not removed, it would not be a big problem. Colin was more desperate than anyone else to raise his own abilities. After all, he was the strongest partner in Sandy's family. If he could be promoted again, the entire family's fighting power would rise by another level. Seeing that she could not stop them, Gu Mengmeng instructed Elvis to be careful and not to aggravate Colin's injuries. Sandy also told Colin not to be stubborn, and then let them leave. Cole did not leave. Instead, it was as if he did not understand Sandy's family's wariness and disgust, as well as Gu Mengmeng's disregard. He just followed Gu Mengmeng quietly, without saying or doing anything unnecessary. After having lunch at Sandy's place and chatting with her for a while, Gu Mengmeng prepared to return to the stone castle. After all, Sandy was pregnant and needed more rest. If she was here, it would be difficult for Sandy to relax and rest well, not to mention that Cole was following her. The moment she stepped out of Sandy's house, she felt a familiar beast pressure. Well now, there were not many people who dared to release their beast pressure in front of Gu Mengmeng. Gu Mengmeng chuckled and jumped down from Lee's arms. She took 2 steps forward, and when she looked up, the huge snake head was already inches away from her. Gu Mengmeng smiled innocently with curved eyebrows, but she did not hold back at all when she struck. With a slap on the lower jaw of the snake, the entire snake was flipped over and fell backward. With a loud bang, the ground shook a few times. Gu Mengmeng walked over and stepped on Wabi-Ai's tail. She glared at Wabi-Ai like a female bandit. "Hey, little shit, you are asking for a beating again?" Wabi-Ai felt refreshed from the slap and his bones loosened up significantly. He tilted his head and transformed back into human form. Tutang, he pushed Gu Mengmeng's foot away from his ankle and said, "What do you mean by asking for a beating? I'm here to challenge you." Chapter 9:30. Wabi-Ai ignored Gu Mengmeng's teasing. He dusted his hands and stood up. Then, he glanced at Cole behind Gu Mengmeng and raised his brows. Why did you bring all kinds of trash back home? This kind of trash. And a crippled stray beast at that. How could you swallow him?" Gu Mengmeng held her forehead. "Are you blind? Which eye of yours saw me wanting him?" Wabi-Ai nodded with a "you're right" look and agreed with her. "I think so too. With snakes setting your aesthetic standards, no matter what, you shouldn't be interested in this kind of defective product. Then what's wrong with him? He's sticking to you like glue. Doesn't your little wolf cub care about him?" Little wolf cub. Indeed, the 16-year-old Elvis could only be considered a little wolf cub in front of the 800-year-old Wabi-Ai. But she was already feeling very awkward. She had become an old cow at the age of 19 to eat Elvis. Yet, Wabi-Ai kept bringing up the issue of age to make things difficult for her. Gu Mengmeng pinched her brows and sighed. "Little shit. I feel that I was too light with my slap just now. Why don't we go for another 300 rounds? What do you say?" Wabi-Ai did not know that he had stepped into Gu Mengmeng's minefield by calling her a little wolf. He just shrugged his shoulders and said, "Forget it, I'm used to being beaten up 300 times by you, so it's nothing much. But when your hand starts hurting, Snake will blame me for making you suffer." Gu Mengmeng's eyes widened. Gu Mengmeng grabbed Wabi-Ai's forearm with both hands. She looked up at him. "But I really want to hit someone now. How do I break this?" Actually, she wanted to grab his shoulder. But the difference in height was really cruel and torturous. Wabi-Eye pointed at Cole behind Gu Meng Meng. Hit him. Isn't he a ready masochist? Gu Meng Meng turned back to look at Cole. She thought that if she hit him, Gu Meng Meng might not be able to control herself and just slap him to death. But if she really slapped him to death, Qi Xian would definitely blame her. Then, she would really lose this son of hers. Gu Meng Meng shook her head. It's too disgusting to slap a cockroach with my bare hands. I can't bear to do it. Wabi-Eye laughed heartily and said, Why does it sound like you hit me because you think highly of me? Should I be grateful? Gu Meng Meng nodded in agreement. But Wabi-Eye scoffed in disdain, before turning to walk back with Gu Meng Meng shoulder to shoulder. As they walked, he reported the situation of the Snake King Valley after the end of winter. In the past, with Snake around, no one dared to enter the Snake King Valley. And in the first winter after Snake left, some of the more daring orcs started plotting against the Snake King Valley. During winter, the snake beasts needed to hibernate and they were basically in a state where they were at the mercy of others. Hence those people sneaked into the Snake King Valley and found a few caves where the hibernating snake beasts lived. They wanted to eat the hibernating snake beasts to raise their own powers. Well, a few snake beasts did die, but those who sneaked in didn't make it out alive. Although the snake beast was in hibernation and could not actively attack, its venom was still present. After those fools ate the snake beast, they couldn't even take 3 steps before they bled from their 7 orifices and died on the spot. Chapter 931. Gu Meng Meng was taken aback. You massacred their tribe? Wabi-Eye shook his head and looked at Gu Meng Meng as though she was a retard. If I had that much free time, I would have just massacred them. Why would I send the corpses? Gu Meng Meng agreed. Sending the corpses was a warning to them. She wanted to tell them that this was the consequence of attacking the Snake King Valley. If they were going to be killed, why would they send the corpses? Wasn't that the same as taking off one's pants to fart? Moreover, I came to look for you the moment winter ended. I went to Saint Nazir first but came to no avail. Your family's paralyzed tiger told me you were here and I rushed here from Saint Nazir. Look at the time, I don't have the time to go massacre some tribe. Wabi-Eye said confidently with a look of disdain. Gu Meng Meng nodded in agreement. Then why was their tribe annihilated? Wabi-Eye laughed dryly. They were afraid that the Snake King Valley would take revenge on them, so they disbanded their tribe and joined other tribes. But strangely, none of them went to Saint Nazir or Sodor to seek refuge with you. Don't they know that I am no match for you and that being under you is the safest place? Gu Meng Meng shook her head with a chuckle. I am the saintess of the Snake King Valley. Seeking refuge with me. Isn't that walking right into a trap? Wabi-Eye laughed. That's right, you are the real Demon King hiding behind the scenes. Gu Meng Meng rolled her eyes at Cole. She politely declined the title of Demon King. Not long after returning to the stone castle, Elvis brought his 3 sons back. Oakley came along with them as well. After Oakley entered, he first bowed to Gu Meng Meng. Then, he looked at Wabi-Eye. Great messenger, although Wabi-Eye is your friend, shouldn't stray beasts keep a low profile when entering Sodor? Gu Meng Meng was speechless. She looked at Cole. Why don't you care about him? Oakley's expression did not change. Be it Cole or Wabi-Eye, I can't stop them with my current abilities. But in any case, this is the messenger's tribe. Since we've come in, we shouldn't make a big fuss, right? Gu Meng Meng understood now. Although Cole was also a stray beast, he rarely appeared in public during his time in Sodor. Yesterday, he had been running around with Gu Meng Meng and was also wearing Li's face. But today, Wabi-Eye had barged in and used his main body to strut around. Come to think of it, the appearance of the 5th-level stray snake must have caused quite a lot of controversy in Sodor. Gu Meng Meng shrugged. Wabi-Eye is my friend. If it is not convenient for him to stay here, I will leave with him. Leave. Oakley frowned and said, Lord Messenger cannot leave for the time being. Gu Meng Meng frowned and said, Since when did you decide where I should go? Oakley replied in a neither servile nor overbearing manner, I naturally don't dare to restrict the great messenger's freedom, it's just that. The people in the beast world have been in a state of panic recently. After knowing that the messenger is staying in Sodor temporarily, a few tribe leaders have already sent people over to seek an audience with you. To prevent unrest in the beast world, it was better for the great messenger to meet him. After all, the trouble was caused by the Snake King Valley. Gu Mengmeng raised her brows. She instantly understood. Chapter 932. The meeting with the visiting tribe leaders was set for 10 days later. Gu Mengmeng had wanted to meet them in the meeting room. After all, it was a discussion and it should be more formal. But the management team led by Oakley had unanimously rejected the idea. The reason was, that stone tablet with the 36 stratagems carved on it was a sacred object worshipped by Sauter and could not be seen by outsiders. Gu Mengmeng did not know whether to laugh or cry. She had just casually memorized the text and her office had turned into an ancestral hall. Forget it. It's the same no matter where we meet. Gu Mengmeng did not insist and so Oakley arranged for the meeting to be held on the afternoon of the 10th day. A complete white tiger skin was laid on the deity's altar and on the back of the tiger skin was a high-backed stone chair. The stone chair was laid with a huge white rabbit skin. Gu Mengmeng sat lazily on the stone chair with her elbow propped against the back of the stone chair. She supported her chin with the back of her hand and looked down at the long wooden table that was hastily made below the deity's altar. There was a row of people sitting around the wooden table. Gu Mengmeng counted and there were 26 of them. They were all males in pairs. She guessed that they were the tribe leaders and witch doctors of the various tribes. Elvis and Leah stood on both sides of Gu Mengmeng with a faint, cold smile on their lips. The people sitting at this table were all old acquaintances. They had fought with Elvis when he was a vagabond, fallen into a well when Leah was in dire straits, killed each other when they were fighting for territory, and there were also a few from the tribes near St. Nazaire. Yeah, there were even more conflicts. To think that there would be a day when these people could sit at the same table quietly. This scene was really unique. Sitting on the high seat, Gu Mengmeng could clearly see the minute expressions on everyone's faces. Thanks to Wang Xiaoxin, even though they had tried their best to suppress their uneasiness, Gu Mengmeng could still tell that they were not confident about her taking in those tribesmen. They all knew that Gu Mengmeng had inherited all of Snake's abilities and memories, but who knew if she had also inherited his personality? He was a person who would seek revenge for the smallest grievance. Gu Mengmeng chuckled and gave Oakley a look. Oakley, who was standing at the side of the altar, took a step forward and spoke first. Various leaders and witch doctors have come from afar. Oakley, as the city lord of Sauter, welcomes all of you. Actually, the people of the beast world were really not good at nor were they used to such elaborate formalities. As such, after Oakley finished his welcome speech, everyone looked at each other and did not know how to respond. Wabi-Ai leisurely walked out from the shade. Due to his identity, he did not go up to the altar. Instead, he stood beside Oakley and leaned against the edge of the altar. Before he could speak, the 26 people who were sitting at the original spot stood up as though someone had stepped on a power source. They looked at Wabi-Ai with a guarded stance. Wabi-Ai snorted in disdain. What's the point of saying such useless things? If you want the Snake King Valley to let you go, what do you intend to use in exchange? Everyone was taken aback, before instinctively looking at Gu Mengmeng. After all, she was the one with the highest authority here. Even Wabi-Ai had to act according to her wishes. Only when she gave the order would the final decision be made. Chapter 933. The 26 of them looked at each other. They all had something to say but didn't have the guts to do so. Elvis sneered. I've never seen you cower before when you were fighting for your lives, but now you sound like you're being strangled by someone? Did you come all the way here just to pretend to be mute? Elvis's words agitated the 26 of them. No matter where they came from, they were all the same. Provocation was the most unbearable. Otherwise, the Northeast's "what are you looking at?" would not have become a popular phrase for a fight. One of the 26 looked up and spoke first. Mighty messenger, we did take in some new tribesmen. But they are not the ones who went to ambush the Snake King Valley. They are innocent. Before Gu Mengmeng could speak, Leah whispered into her ear. The one who spoke is Leonard, the leader of the Zacharias tribe. He is a 4th-level tiger beast. The one standing beside him is called Nick. He is a witch doctor and a 2nd-level armadillo. They are quite far from St. Nazaire and have not had many encounters with us. But they are closer to Peter's territory. Yet, They have never had any females snatched from them. Clearly, they are very powerful. Gu Mengmeng nodded to indicate that she understood. Then, without any special expression on his face, he maintained a casual look and said, "I'm innocent. What kind of place is the Snake King Valley? How can a few people withstand the harsh cold and find their way to the entrance in such a cold season? Would you believe me if I told you?" Everyone's heart skipped a beat. The truth was, they didn't believe it. Not to mention finding the entrance. Just venturing out during winter was a matter of life and death. Otherwise, why would winter be called the season of death? In this kind of weather, it was impossible to find the mysterious entrance. So, the only explanation was that they had planned this beforehand. They had already scouted out the path to the Snake King Valley, and then lay in ambush nearby. They would wait for 3 to 5 days for the cold to descend, ensuring that all the snake beasts were hibernating before entering. And such an operation could not be carried out without external help. In other words, the few males who entered were the suicide squad of the tribe. If they succeeded, the tribe's power would increase greatly. And the Snake King Valley had tens of thousands of snakes. Who would know if a few were missing? If they failed, the few of them would die on the spot. The rest would just have to split up and say that they were innocent and they could stay out of this. To put it bluntly, it was a huge gamble. The price of victory or defeat was the rise of the tribe or the fall of the tribe. Regardless of the era, there were always gamblers. This gambler was not only the members of the Dare to Die team, but also everyone in their tribe. Gu Mengmeng was such a dazzling presence in the beast world that it was too easy to find her. Wasn't Fei Ru'ei the best example? But everyone obviously knew that she was the sacred maiden of the Serpent King Valley, but not a single one of them came to inform her, wasn't it? Now that things have come to this, you want to use an excuse of innocent to settle the matter? Did he really treat Gu Mengmeng as a fool? The atmosphere instantly turned solemn. Gu Mengmeng could clearly see fear on the faces of the 26 people. It had nothing to do with whether she had revealed her Beast King's aura. It could only be said that they had a guilty conscience. Chapter 934. The 26 of them looked at each other, as if they were weighing whether their sincerity was sufficient. The first to speak was always more stressful. The atmosphere instantly became rather stifling. Nothing had happened and Gu Mengmeng was very sure that everyone present, including herself, was not emitting any pressure. But the atmosphere was like the examination hall during the high school examinations, quiet and strange. Occasionally, a gust of wind blew past, but it was as if it was plucking at the taut heartstrings, causing them to vibrate intensely, as if they could snap at any time. "I am Hanston, the leader of Franks, a third-level rhinoceros orc." One of them stood out and spoke first. He had a head of gray short hair that did not look old but was extremely fashionable. He was only wearing a leopard print hide, revealing his well-built body. His face was suspiciously dark red as he stared straight at Gu Mengmeng, as if trying to convey a sense of confidence. His fists were clenched tightly by his sides, as if he was not used to such an occasion. "I am willing to offer all my loyalty to the messenger and become your partner. This way, Franks will be like Saint Nazir, a tribe belonging to the great messenger." Gu Mengmeng was taken aback. Before she could react, the person standing beside Hanston also stood out and said, "I am Joshua, the witch doctor of Franks, a first-level orc from the ape tribe. I am willing to offer my loyalty to the great messenger together with the leader, representing that Franks will completely submit to the great messenger without any disloyalty." Gu Mengmeng was just about to wave her hands to say there was no need, when Leah laughed softly. That laughter was cold and carried a hint of sarcasm. "A first-level orc dares to propose a mating request to the messenger of the beast deity. Are you really not afraid of blaspheming the beast deity?" Joshua's face turned red from Lee's words, but he refused to lower his head. He continued to look straight at Leah and said, "I know I am not strong enough, but I will work hard to improve myself and become a male worthy of the great messenger. Perhaps the great envoy doesn't remember me, but I remember the great envoy. From the first time I saw the great messenger, I have already deeply admired you. Please give me a chance to become your tribesman." Gu Mengmeng. When did she attract such a peach blossom? Why did she not have any impression of him? Lord Envoy. Joshua was not discouraged. Although he was the only first-level orc among everyone present, He was still too weak compared to the competitors who did not even have the right to enter the arena, much less those perverts around Gu Mengmeng. But even so, he did not want to give up the chance to confess, because he really liked Gu Mengmeng. So Joshua took a step forward and continued, Francis and Saint Nazir share a border. If the great messenger accepts us, we are willing to give up the name of Francis and integrate into the Saint Nazir tribe. In that case, Saint Nazir's territory would at least double. Furthermore, even though Francis does not have as many females as Saint Nazir, we have 2 complete females and 5 half-orc females. There are 7 4th-level males and 29 3rd-level males in the tribe. These are all precious resources, and we are willing to offer them all to the great messenger without reservation. Chapter 935. Ha! Elvis, who had remained silent all this while, suddenly laughed. The bloodlust and coldness that had not been shown for a long time permeated every cell in the air. Although it was just a simple sound, it sent chills down everyone's spines. They were as silent as cicadas in winter, not daring to say another word. They just looked at Elvis quietly, waiting for him to continue. After all, this Saint Nazir tribe leader and the witch doctor beside him had already swept through many tribes when they were 3rd level. Relying on their perfect teamwork and reckless fighting style, they had forced many people to suffer losses from them. After the arrival of the messenger of the beast deity, these two seemed to have disappeared without a trace and did not commit any bloody killings anymore. However, their past great achievements were still fresh in people's memories. Today, one of them was a 5th level and the other a 4th level. That made them even more of a Yama that no one dared to provoke. Elvis stretched his neck to the left. Those who were familiar with him knew that this was a sign that he was about to attack. This time, no one dared to speak. If Saint Nazir wants territory, we don't need Xiao Meng to mate. Elvis took half a step forward, like a god of war looking down on everyone. The sunlight shone on his face, but no one dared to lift their heads to look at his facial features. They could only feel their bodies trembling and crazily wanted to kneel down and beg for mercy. Seizing by force is my way of doing things. A faint smile had already appeared on Li's face. That smile was one that everyone was all too familiar with. Before he met Gu Mengmeng, how many years had this smile been on his face? The more angered he was to the point of wanting to kill someone, the more elegant and charming his smile would be. His voice was also filled with coldness. That light sentence made the atmosphere of the entire scene drop by quite a bit. Has Francis' water source problem been solved? If I don't give you water during this dry season, I wonder how long you guys can last? Leah said these words with a concerned expression, stabbing at the weakest spot of the other party with all his might. Every stab did not draw blood, but he had a firm grasp on the other party's lifeline. When your tribesmen either leave or die due to lack of water, do you think there will be anyone who dares to fight with Saint Nazir for Francis' current territory? Hanston and Joshua were both speechless. Yes, they had no water. In the past, it was still all right when everyone was in a drought, but last year, Saint Nazir started to release water for everyone. That was the happiest dry season that Frank had experienced in 1,000 years. If Leah cut off Francis' water supply, the people in the tribe would definitely leave, because as long as they went to another tribe, they would be able to drink the water provided by Saint Nazir again. By then, Franks would be doomed. Naturally, no one would dare to fight with Saint Nazir for the territory. After all, who wouldn't be afraid that the next tribe to have their water cut off? Li's gaze swept across the crowd below the stage and he chuckled. Some tribes lack water, some lack food, some tribes' last female has already been dead for half a year. Some tribes' territories have been used by the stray beasts as their food source during the winter season all year round, suffering attacks year after year without any ability to retaliate. TSK. 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 Aren't you ashamed to use such a family as dowry to talk about mating with my Meng Meng? Li's words silenced the others who had wanted to mention mating. No one dared to step forward. Chapter 936. Soul of the Forest. Gu Mengmeng savored these 4 words and chuckled. Of course I can. I have already said that I will grant a wish to anyone who can help me obtain the 5 treasures. If your wish is for me to not pursue the matter, I can agree to it now. All right, it's a deal. Leonard bowed to Gu Mengmeng and said, Then, I will go back to make some preparations and await the great messenger's arrival at Zacharias. Gu Meng Meng chuckled and nodded in agreement. Then, Leonard and Nick turned to leave. Gu Meng Meng looked at the other 24 people. They were all clearly stunned by the soul of the forest's appearance. Compared to the soul of the forest, their sincerity clearly did not carry enough weight. Gu Meng Meng didn't want to make things difficult for them, so she stretched and stood up. I am tired. You and Great Messenger, please go and rest first. I will handle the remaining matters and give you and Wabi a satisfactory reply. Oakley spoke first. Gu Meng Meng thought for a moment and didn't reject him. She only responded with a before allowing Elvis to carry her away. Wabi had no patience for such friendly negotiations. If Gu Meng Meng wasn't sitting here, he wouldn't have bothered to listen to their nonsense. Now that Gu Meng Meng had left, he naturally followed suit. Back at the stone castle, Leah said to Elvis, Zacharias is near the Stray Beast Base Camp. We should stay at the Stray Beast Base Camp, in case there are any overconfident fellows trying to impress Meng Meng with their presence. Elvis nodded. That's what I thought too. Gu Meng Meng asked Wabi, Little shit, are you still going to accompany me this time? Wabi nodded. The previous kiss of the ocean was filled with poisonous fog and swamps. Who knows what will happen this time? If I know you are going to take the risk, I will definitely accompany you. Otherwise, how am I going to answer to him if anything happens to you? Gu Meng Meng chuckled and asked, But don't you have to return to the Snake King Valley to explain what happened this time? After all, this is the first time in 1,000 years that an outsider has infiltrated the valley and killed the people of the Snake King Valley. No matter what, this is a big matter. Wabi stared coldly at Gu Meng Meng. He seemed to have thought for a moment before nodding his head lazily in annoyance. Yeah, I have to go back and inform them. Gu Meng Meng said, Then you should go and settle the matters of the Snake King Valley first. After all, the Snake King Valley and Zacharias are not in the same direction. Wabi rolled his eyes and rapped Gu Meng Meng's head. Those who want to help you are all on the way. Those who value you are not busy day or night. Gu Meng Meng was really touched by Wabi. She pounced forward and hugged him, looking up at him. Little shit, you have really become intelligent. You can even speak like a human. Scram! Wabi roared. I'm kind enough to be your bodyguard. How dare you say that about me? Gu Meng Meng giggled. All right. Don't be angry. I know you are a warm guy. Wabi squinted at Gu Meng Meng for 2 seconds. Then he roared. Don't think that I don't know you are scolding me in a roundabout way just because you are smiling. A warm guy is definitely not saying anything nice. Can't you say anything nice about me? Gu Meng Meng shrugged helplessly. After all, a warm guy in the eyes of males was equivalent to a green tea bitch in the eyes of females. So Wabi's words were not wrong. But little shit. Gu Meng Meng was sincerely praising you this time. Aside from the topic, Wabi, Gu Meng Meng, I treat you as a friend. Why are you treating me as a warm guy? Gu Meng Meng shrugged helplessly. I am really not scolding you this time. Why don't you believe me? Chapter 937. In the meeting room, Cole sat casually and lazily on the chair that belonged to Gu Meng Meng. His large hands gently caressed the beast's skin on the back of the chair, with a faint smile on his lips. Oakley stood at the spot that belonged to him at the bottom of the stairs. No matter if it was Gu Meng Meng or Cole sitting on the stone chair, he would still stand there, no difference. You did very well. I am very satisfied. As a reward, once a Gu leaves this place, you can see your bloom. Cole's gaze lingered on the armrest of the stone chair, as if he could see Gu Meng Meng's adorable look when she used her elbow to support herself in boredom. His lips curled up slightly, and even Oakley became more pleasing to the eye. You don't have to look so glum. I did not ask you to do anything evil. I just want you to put in more effort when you are assisting a Gu. By pushing you to the peak of power, you will be able to protect that little snake of yours better, right? Oakley did not have any expression on his face. He tried his best to look unperturbed. He knew that Cole was too good at manipulating people's hearts. He could not reveal more information to Cole. But he tried his best to control his expression, but neglected the fact that the veins on his tightly clenched fists were popping out. How could anyone believe the nonchalance on his face? Cole did not expose him. He just enjoyed Oakley's desperate stubbornness. He chuckled, as if he was a cat playing with a mouse. I have one thing I don't understand. Oakley looked up at Cole. You spent so much effort to lure the mighty messenger to Sauder, just to pretend to be Leah for a day? Cole was in an extremely good mood when he thought of the day he pretended to be Leah. His Agu did not confuse him with that useless brother. She saw through him with one look. Rather than saying that he pretended to be Leah that day, it would be better to say that it was the day he openly stayed by Agu's side. Although Agu ignored him coldly, they still shared many memories, didn't they? Thinking of this, Cole's mood became even better. Hence, he answered Oakley's question exceptionally generously. Don't you feel that when the person you like comes to your side on his own accord, it is a joyous thing? Agu would gradually get used to living with me. If I suddenly disappeared one day, she wouldn't be used to it. So, I have to be the most special person in her life. Since that's the case, you're letting her go just like that? Oakley was referring to the search for the soul of the forest. Cole's gaze deepened and the smile on his lips deepened. I want to be her savior, the only one she can rely on in hell. So the prerequisite was that she had to fall into hell first. If there is no hell, I can only create one for her. Hope slowly accumulates, and in the blink of an eye, it is shattered. I can almost imagine her look of despair. How distressing. Cole said those cruel words with a look of enjoyment. His entire body was emitting an evil aura, causing Oakley to frown tightly. All right, you just have to work hard for Agu and push Sauder to the top of the world. I want my Agu to stand at the top of the world and trample everything under her feet. And you must be her stepping stone. Cole stood up and walked towards Oakley step by step. He placed his hand on Oakley's shoulder and exerted a little force, causing Oakley to kneel down at his feet. Cole seemed to be very satisfied as his lips curled into a smile. As long as you are loyal to Agu, you and your little snake will be fine. Otherwise, I will not forgive anyone who causes trouble for Agu. In this world, I am the only one who can make her unhappy. Aside from the topic, let's talk about a joke. You the Great was controlling the flood. He passed by the house 3 times but did not enter. Did you think that nothing would happen if he did not enter the house? Such a naive little cutie. Many things could happen without entering the house. You the Great's wife looked forward to her husband's return every day. In the end, she became a rock waiting for her husband. And Sun Wukong jumped out from the cracks of the rock. You the Great used the ultimate magical weapon, the godly sea-calming needle, to control the flood. And the godly sea-calming needle was also known as the golden cudgel. Only Sun Wukong could wield the golden cudgel, and it only listened to Sun Wukong. From this, one could conclude that You the Great was Sun Wukong's father. Chapter 938. Before Gu Mengmeng left, she went to see Sandy. Sandy's tummy was getting bigger by the day and it was getting more and more inconvenient for her to move around. Gu Mengmeng had wanted to wait for Sandy to finish giving birth before setting off, but it would be the dry season by then and any movement would become torture for Wabi. He had to return to the Snake King Valley to recuperate. Although she really didn't need a bodyguard now as no one could do anything to her even if she ran around on her own. But towards Wabi, apart from the friendship between friends, she also felt a sense of guilt. After all, she was the one who had snatched away the most important person he had relied on for 800 years. So she had the responsibility to comfort his boring life. Moreover, Gu Mengmeng had already decided that she would never abandon the 3 little ones. Thinking back to the incident at the bottom of the ocean, Gu Mengmeng felt more at ease with Wabi by her side. After all, if anything happened, Elvis would definitely protect her first. By then, there would be a gap in the safety of the 3 little ones and it would be easy for others to take advantage of it. So Wabi could fill this gap with his presence. Moreover, Cole had already promised not to find trouble with Sandy. So Gu Mengmeng decided not to wait for Sandy to give birth. She would look for the soul of the forest now. It would be best if she could finish it quickly and return before Sandy gave birth. Once Sandy heard that Gu Mengmeng was leaving, she hugged Gu Mengmeng and started crying. Gu Mengmeng knew that a pregnant woman's emotions would fluctuate greatly, so she patiently coaxed Sandy for a long time. In the end, She used her trump card and promised to bring back some delicious fruits for her. Sandy, the little foodie, blinked her big bright eyes and pushed Gu Meng Meng out of the door, saying, "Come back quickly." Once they were out of solder, Gu Meng Meng remained in Elvis's arms. Shaking her head in exasperation, Gu Meng Meng said, "Sigh, I feel very sad now." Elvis looked at her smiling face and could not feel any sadness at all, but he still gave her face. Expressing his inquiry. Gu Meng Meng said, "Sandy is my best friend, but in her eyes, I am not even comparable to a fruit. At first, she hugged me tightly and refused to let go. But once she heard that there was food, she actually pushed me out. I am starting to doubt my own worth. Am I not even comparable to a fruit?" Elvis chuckled. He could not understand the friendship between females. Moreover, he was unwilling to waste time thinking about what other females were thinking, so he just kissed Gu Meng Meng's little head and said, "You are the most precious, nothing can be compared to you." Gu Meng Meng smiled sweetly and snuggled into Elvis's arms. Wabi Eye cleared his throat and inched closer to Gu Meng Meng. He said awkwardly, Have you gone to see your father recently? Did you ask me anything?" Gu Meng Meng knew that Wabi Eye was asking about sending her to Snake's side, so she nodded and said, "Yeah, I went to ask once after we parted ways, but my father's attitude was I can't tell you. It's not the right time to switch the power source yet. Just wait a little longer. Anyway, I still remember your request. I will help you ask whenever I see my father." Wabi Eye pursed his lips and looked at Gu Meng Meng in silence for a long while. Then he said, "You are unfilial." Gu Meng Meng looked at Wabi Eye in bewilderment. She did not know where his conclusion came from. Wabi Eye said, "You could only stay in the cave for the entire winter without doing anything, yet you only went to see your father once. If you are not unfilial, then what is?" Digression. Based on the above argument, we can continue to elaborate. There is a joke on the internet about Sun Wukong saying that monkeys are monkeys after all. After staying in the immortal peach garden, the 7 fairies only went to eat peaches. However, have you all forgotten that the 7 fairies are the same color as the Calabash brothers, and there are exactly 7 of them? After the 7 Calabash brothers fused together, they became a stone mountain, and Sun Wukong jumped out from the cracks in the stone. So the conclusion is that Sun Wukong is the Calabash brothers' father. Then, the Calabash brothers' father is Sun Wukong. Sun Wukong's father is Yu the Great. Do you still think that it was a coincidence that the old man sowed the seeds of the Calabash brothers? You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.